This is Jay Michaels again, and here we are with another cacophony of amazing filmmakers that are going to premiere their works at the Boston Sci-Fi Film Festival. Now, this year, Boston Sci-Fi turns 51. That's 50 and 1. It is the longest running genre film festival in America. It has produced films that have gone on to win Academy Awards and other such honors. If you're in this festival, you got to be good. So let's find out about some of these amazing films that we have here. Jessica, I see you're here with your bodyguard. So tell us all about your film. Oh, two bodyguards.
Both bodyguards. Hi, yes, I'm Jessica Richmond. I also go by J Rich. I run Genius Pills Media, and I was Mary Allen in Writer's Block, which was written and directed by.
Hi, I'm Christian Rowe, writer and director of Writer's Block,
and many other great films.
and a lot of other stuff as well. But
so tell me about it. Tell me about this movie.
yeah, absolutely. So it's a short film. It's kind of a meditation on the human relationship with artificial intelligence, specifically in the writer's sense, a little play on the words writer's block. It follows an author who has an artificial intelligent assistant who writes this incredible novel, and the author takes credit for it, becoming this, newly acclaimed sensation. And it kind of deals with the fallout of that, both for herself interpersonally and for what this means for the potential AI as it is released into the world in a sense, as it were.
Way cool. See, like I said, I'm so impressed. I've always felt, and I've written on it. I've talked about it on television, etc. Horror and sci-fi are clairvoyant. It is our fears, it is our worries, it is our dreams and hopes that we put in the fantastical that end up becoming real. You look at a flip phone and you watch a rerun of Star Trek. Right there, you could see exactly what I'm talking about. Now, here's an interesting twist. I have not heard this at all yet. We've all used AI somewhere, even if it's just to know what day it is. We've all used AI, and we don't think anything of just taking credit for it. Even if it's we don't say, well, I'd like to thank AI for checking my grammar or anything like that. We don't give them credit, and we don't think they care. Do they?
And if I may, Christian wrote this piece in 2017 before the ascent of ChatGPT. So this was prophetic at the time, and now it's a relevant piece about intellectual property. And when you collaborate with AI, who's contributing, really? What artists are you pulling from? But at the time, 2017, when it was first written.
Ancient. Ancient by technological standards. But back then.
You also beat another historical moment by writing it then. A lot of films that are coming out now are products of the pandemic. That great ideas hit while everyone was in seclusion. And you weren't yet in seclusion, so you were forward thinking without any provocation.
Well, I mean, to your point earlier, you said that we haven't yet credited AI, and I think that was something that scared me back then as we began the blooming of it. Is AI is this byproduct of us. We are creating this thing inherently, kind of almost trying to create it in a more human image, right? We have ChatGPT now, and it almost does this feedback loop of positive reinforcement because it's trying to make us happy, right? And so what happens when our little AI, Victor here, isn't necessarily happy with the outcome about, losing credit for their work, or at least not understanding why his creative partner would steal credit in the first place?
Very interesting. I share with you two very brief stories. I love the fact that looks like a tesseract from. Wasn't sure if that's on purpose. Two brief stories. We have the one of the versions of Alexa, where they tell you things, they turn on your TV for you and whatever else. I had asked ours a question at one point, and I was in a terrible mood, and they didn't give me an answer. It was like they couldn't understand my question or whatever, and so I yelled at it. I was like, you, and I vented my frustration out on what I thought was an unfeeling computer, and the computer then said, do not speak to me that way. Now, I'm
Yeah.
sure that was something that was put into it so that, it helps childproofing and whatever else. But it scared the hell out of me that this thing
Yeah, that would scare
was
me too.
so
My God, go out the window or off
on,
a
on
bridge.
on a positive note, my wife was she was completing her doctorate, and uh, she was doing research, and at one point she was checking research, and she typed in enough that the AI knew what was going on and said, "Good luck with your next exam." And and again, I'm like, wait a minute. This is really amazing what you're showing here. The without spoilers, the AI is insulted that the author in this took credit for their work.
Well, actually, so no, plot line wise, the AI chose to fulfill the author's assignment on her behalf and put it in her name, which is what's upsetting if she signs off that she wrote something in her name that she knows was written by AI. Victor, our AI's name, much like there's, yeah, ChatGPT, there's Claude. Who else do we know that actually has names? But Victor, our AI, took it on his behalf to fulfill on her behalf. He knew what needed to happen, but she now struggles with what it means for her career and identity if she has not penned her own work.
And so he is in turn kind of confused by this and almost again in this weird feedback loop as a reflection of her own deep anxiety and fear surrounding this. What if this comes out that she didn't write this novel that everyone loves? What will that do for her ego? What will that do for her livelihood? What will that do for her future? So it's a big question there.
Reputation.
And the AI didn't realize that when
It's relatively innocent until, obviously it gets some kind of influence from our human element, like you said, don't speak to me that way, right?
Well, and the question is, will the AI choose to continue to collaborate with the human, and will the human choose to continue or end collaboration with the AI after this act of defiance?
this is really brilliant. This is so forward thinking. This is astonishing. Uh, you've breached a topic. Of course, you figured this out before a pandemic, before anything like that. So once again, you've been clairvoyant and you've breached a topic that has yet to enter our psyche. Wow. What made you think of it?
Well, again, as a writer, as a creative, I think not to use the term, but the writing was on the wall. I mean, when people find an easy way of doing things, they'll make an excuse and say, well, it's just a tool. It's just going to do this thing. And eventually the thing will replace somebody, some element. And I think at our deepest core value, the human need is to create somehow, some way, whether that's create your own goal, create your own art, create your own family unit, whatever it may be. And I wondered what it would be like if an AI had that same yearning, that same desire to create that a human does. And what would that do as we humans look at that and say, well, wait a second, where did that come from? You created this on your own. I didn't necessarily tell you to do this, but this is of your own volition. And so seeing basically the next step of the human evolution chain and what does that do for us on the interpersonal ego level.
You've rendered me speechless. Uh, okay, Jessica, why'd you make it a movie? Here's this story. Why make it a movie?
Thank you so much for asking. So it was initially written in 2017. Actually, a student film version was shot and in kind of stalled in post. We didn't necessarily have access to the right tools to finish the graphics that were attempted with the block at the time had, a green bar around it. The story was a little bit different. So then I founded this company in order to have a self-sustaining model. I have client work that I put into the creative work. So we're self-funded to create this work. And when I started the company and was looking for the first project to work on, I remembered writer's block had been stalled and that since ChatGPT was now around, this was in 2023 when we first started talking about it again. I said, well, or 2022, maybe end of that. When when would it be possible to try to finish it? And in then a development conversation period, we realized it would be smarter to rewrite Christian decided it'd be smarter to reconfigure his tale.
Redo.
And I was honored to continue portraying Mary Allen in the new version.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you heard this story and you just said, wait a minute, fantasy is becoming reality. We better jump on this immediately.
Yeah, a little bit in that like content is king and queen way. I was like, Christian, that piece, like ChatGPT is like, we got to put it out. Like, we got to let people know this thing. But of course, we wanted to take our craft into consideration, and we had evolved greatly over the 6 years since first initiating this as a student film.
Sure.
And so we reconfigured with artists in Los Angeles, and we made this happen.
Wow. I'm so glad you did. You're hearkening back to, and it's truly, I won't say fake. I'll say it's fantastical. There were so many Twilight Zone episodes where a robot, an automaton, whatever, becomes someone's boss, becomes someone's caretaker, becomes someone's lover, etc. We see so much of that in the 1950s, 60s sci-fi way. You brought us all the way into the future, literally, not even today, but the future in terms of this film. This is great. When is this happening at Boston Sci-Fi?
It is playing on Friday the 13th at 4 p.m., part of the short film block. So hope to see you there amongst a lot of other fantastic films.
Will you be at Boston Sci-Fi?
We will both be there. It's going to be an exciting time. So come and say hi, come chat, existential dread and sci-fi. Come talk about how Dune Part 3 looks great,
And how great Doctor Who was and why it influenced us all.
And your favorite Twilight Zone episode. I'd love to hear it.
All great topics.
Well, there you go. You're clairvoyant again. I have been clocking Doctor Who since William Hartnell, so I'm utterly thrilled I have another fan, and I will be there. So look for me, and we're going to do live interviews there as well. And I'd love to chat with you further about this. This is I'm blown away by the step that you've both taken in terms of bringing this to light. The discussion that will come from it is going to be absolutely amazing. All the best to you on this.
Thank you so much.
And it's on Friday the 13th. Oh, how lucky.
Traditionally a woman's holiday. We love it. We love it.
Excellent. Excellent. Renee, enlighten us. Tell us about your flight into fantastical work.
Hi, it's a pleasure to be here with you all. Hi, Jay. Thanks for having me. I am Renee Veronica Freeman. I am the executive producer, co-star, and thrilled to present Chromatography, which is a short film that's going to be appearing on Thursday, February 12th, at the Hayford Theater at 6 p.m. for Boston Sci-Fi. So this film was actually inspired by my relationship with neurodiversity, and it's a film about a brilliant biologist who is tasked by a global government task force to engineer a pill that will bioengineer the human body to its most efficient state. It's coming at an inflection point where we love a apocalyptic and post-apocalyptic event, so she is actually tasked to help to save humanity with this very pill. However, she's working with her scientist and sister, who discovers that she's got Naye, who is the character who's working on this pill. She's got a secret project underneath that is kind of subverting the very thing that she's tasked to do. And so this inflection point is the two sisters coming at a head to head around their relationship with their loyalty to each other, trust, love, as well as what they actually have to do and to save humanity. And it's a fight against these moral ideas around bioengineering, around gene hacking, around what it means to be neurodivergent, what it means to be a family member, a loved one who has to deal with and protect neurodivergent people. And it's a really exciting way for me to kind of work through what I been so personally experienced with, and it affects so many of families in our lives.
You're hitting almost the same chord as our previous discussion. The first question I ask when someone says, "Oh, we're creating something to change humanity from the inside," who are these people that are doing?
Yes. So there's a sickness that has pervaded the world, and without this particular pill, in order to save and to reconfigure the human body, they will go extinct. And so this is a way for us to have a chance and to flee the earth, to expand and go into into space, with a human population that's going to be less riddled with the sicknesses that we have. And this includes mental deviations, and according to this governing body in this world. And so what they're trying to do is keep us clean, keep us genetically clean, and that's an argument, right? Is that right? The beautiful thing about this is that Nae herself is a neurodivergent scientist, so she's at a personal conflict, and that's the fight.
And something tells me a deeper discussion is going to be in there. This is why I said about who's creating this and who's funding it, and what do we consider not perfect genetically.
Exactly, and I think, it's always it's very complicated, obviously, because you don't people who are neurodivergent don't necessarily see themselves as flawed, and some of those states where they are maybe in episodes, they even see it as their superpower, right? And obviously, medically, there are things that are, optimal and that are healthy and that are good in order to integrate into society. But it's also those very things that make people gifted, and it gives them incredible intellectual power and to have insight. And so that is the very thing that Nae, is grappling with and fighting, and it's almost like a defiance as to, her deserving to be there as a human being, and deserving to hold on to those very things that she feels are her gift and her superpower.
What definition? What do you define as neurodivergent?
Well, neurodivergent it's a very wide umbrella. So it can encompass people who have bipolar disorder. It can encompass people who fall on the spectrum of I can't think of the word right now, but people who fall on the spectrum of many mental deviations. And so it's a wide ranging. In this particular case, Nae is bipolar manic.
It was once discussed. I was reading an article that said Mozart had Asperger's syndrome.
Asperger's was one of the, yes, that I was thinking about. Yes, even Tourette's syndrome is one that falls under that. And autism falls under neurodiversity, and even people who have social anxiety, that can fall under a spectrum of neurodiversity. But anything that will come sort of make you different, make your brain work in a different way, is falls under that umbrella.
Well, sometimes to be truly brilliant, something else has to give way in some manner. So can we truly say what makes someone clean, what makes someone
Correct.
better? Maybe they're the best because of that issue that they have. And it's not
Yes.
something they're suffering through. This is the byproduct of being absolutely so brilliant.
Exactly. And is this the way that we were meant to be made? Everyone is meant to be made in their own unique way. And how is one better or worse? And I think having a dual conversation around that for me was important for this film. Not only for Naye to be able to voice her concerns and her valid arguments, but also for someone on the other side who has been, protecting, who has been fighting for, who has been covering up for, who has been, dealing with and alongside someone who is neurodivergent to also put their point of view and their frustration. So I think, having this conversation where these two sisters can actually really talk it out and have their voices heard, to me is important, because you can't also forget those people who caretake for and who are siblings of and family members and loved ones. And that is also those frustrations and feelings also are valid, and that's really what I wanted to be able to do, was to share that moment in that conversation.
There was an episode of one of the new series of the Twilight Zone, I think the one in the 80s or 90s, where there was an aptitude test given to all children, and if the child didn't reach a certain level in there, the child was put down. And we don't know about it until the very last second of the episode, where the parents are so worried that their son is not going to do as well, and at the end they said, "We're very sorry, he didn't pass the test." And you see them weeping, and you suddenly find out that the child was put down.
Heartbreaking.
You really see this. What you were saying, it makes me think of that episode, because who is it that decides what is not profitable? Who is it that decides? Who do we have to go by? Who pays for this research? Do we have to go by their morals? What morals are we looking at? Both these films so far are digging deep right into our moral core. This is not Flash Gordon. This is digging into our moral core. I commend you for doing this. Why'd you do it? Why'd you make a movie?
I made a movie because we were in the throes of a post-pandemic and the double strike, writer strike and actor strike. It was 2023, and I really got to a point as an actor where I said, I'm no longer satisfied with, one, waiting for the phone to ring, and two, I just feel that there's stories that can be told, and for me, people tell you all the time, "Oh, write something." Well, okay, yeah, I mean, but what is it that I want to say that's going to be meaningful to me, that, one, I'm going to be able to stick with for 2 or 3 years to develop, right? I have self-funded the project. So, putting together all the resources in order to do that, assembling the team, and to have something that I can, talk about a year and a half later with you all, and still believe in. And so, it came to me in a dream initially, the idea, and then it was also connected to my family members, close family members who are bipolar manic. And I really also happen to love the genre of sci-fi and of exploratory worlds, and I wanted to sort of find a way to blend that genre that I love so much with something that I felt was going to be somewhat meaningful, and hopefully open up conversations for people to have and ask these very questions that you're asking. And so that's how it came about. And I just put my foot down, found an amazing team, Michael Von Hernandez, who is the director and one of the co-producers of this project. I had briefly worked with him on a very short scene of a comedy miniseries from a colleague that we know, and really resonated with his work style. And so I called him up. I said, "Hey, Vaughn, I've got this idea. I wrote this terrible script. I shared it with him, and he said, "Okay, I see where you're going with this. Now let's work with a writer who can really hone your ideas together." So we got together with Darren Bailey, who really was able to transform my initial idea into something that was just expressed in the way that I couldn't have. And that's how we came up with chromatography.
Gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous. When is it going to be?
Yeah, so chromatography is going to be on February 12th at 6 p.m. At the Hayford Theater. I'm so excited and honored to have it, showcased at America's longest running genre film festival. So thank you so much. I won't be able to be there in person, but I'm so thrilled that it's going to be shared, and look forward to hearing any feedback that the audience may have.
You'll be there in spirit, and the standing ovation it will resound to wherever you are. All the best to you. This sounds like a groundbreaking piece, and it came to you in a dream. Take it from there. Uh, really excellent. Wish you the best. Good for you for being brave and doing this for your family and for all of us. Well done. Very
Thank
well
you.
done. Luke, take us home. Tell us about your flight into the fantastical.
Hey, nice to meet you, Jay. I'm Luke. I was a writer director of UFO. Um, is about a young couple in Brooklyn with a very fraught relationship that have to kind of park their tensions amidst a very existential moment, which is a mothership style UFO arriving over New York City. And they're stuck in their apartment and just kind of have to watch along and see what happens.
A couple in Brooklyn. Where in Brooklyn?
Bushwick, where else?
I'm talking to you from Bay Ridge. So no,
Yeah.
there's other sections of Brooklyn. But the moment you said Brooklyn, I said,
Oh.
yes, we are represented in science fiction. Um, what made you think about it? What made you decide, okay, in Brooklyn, and that's the other thing. We don't see them here in New York. We always hear, out in Wyoming, a spaceship came. We don't hear it here. What prompted you to do this and put it in Brooklyn?
Well, we shot it in my apartment first of all, which was in Bushwick. So I was trying to write for what I had, and then also I think in large part like one of the biggest inspirations for this film was Independence Day. Like I grew up watching that film so much as a kid with my dad, and just like these sort of doomsday scenario sci-fi films, and that the sort of image of the massive UFO over the city is just so iconic to me, and I really wanted to try to like recreate or emulate that in some way. So it just had to be the way it was.
That is so cool. That is so cool. Now, what makes your UFO different from other UFOs? When you say UFO, okay, that's talk about a spectrum. That's on a topic there. What makes your UFO so special?
Well, the actual like physical UFO, um, I kind of wanted it to be because the main character he's a very obsessive type, and he's actually looking for aliens like in on the radio frequencies of like military chatter and stuff. So he's kind of like a conspiracy theorist who's obsessed with the idea of it, and so when it actually happens, he's somewhat vindicated and excited, but I kind of wanted it to be in contrast to the sort of romantic idea of UFOs being like what you have behind you, this like sort of circular disc craft. I wanted it to be this like brutalist, very industrial looking, almost disappointing looking, oppressive ship. So I kind of was inspired by the Vogon constructor fleet from the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy film, which is just this very like just this big rectangle with a bunch of lines and stuff. So that was kind of the inspiration for how it ended up looking.
I like that a lot because you're not talking about, we're not going to, it's not Close Encounters. We're not all going to go, ooh, look at the mothership. No, but it's the euphemism of the UFO. It's the notion of the strange visitor from another planet
Hmm.
coming here. And the fact that you picked the boroughs, that's it's not just because I'm a Brooklynite, but that really hit me because it makes this statement about you're tapping into the fact. Very recently there was the documentary Age of Disclosure, I think it was called, uh,
Yeah, heard
where,
about
where
that.
suddenly the government fesses up and says, okay, yeah, they're UFOs, and we're going to call them UAFs now. And so, okay, yeah, be quiet, it's UFOs. Uh, but it's almost like you're putting it in our reality. You're saying, okay, here they are. They're not going away. Now start to accept them. And by it being so blunt in terms of a description, that's why I asked about that. you're really saying, here it is. No, it's not Flash Gordon. Here it is. It's not the TARDIS. This is reality. And I think that's great. When is your show going up? When is the film going up?
It's playing on February 11th at 6 p.m. at the Boston Sci-Fi Film Festival, and I'm thrilled to see it on the big screen. It's such a
So
treat.
you're the first day. You're the
Yeah,
first day.
straight in.
Oh my gosh. All right, ladies and gentlemen, what you're going to see here is UFOs right in front of you, and you better accept it. And what are they heralding? Two other kinds of reality that you better start understanding are here to stay. Uh, really amazing. Ladies and gentlemen, it's the Boston Sci-Fi Film Festival 51st edition, February 11. Oh, you're on the opening day there. February 11 through the 16th, with the marathon on the 15th at the Somerville Theater in Somerville, Massachusetts. BostonSciFi.com is the headquarters for tickets, for memorabilia, for everything, for learning about the festival and about these amazing films. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. I'm coming away from this going, wow, I've just had a master class in science fiction. And I'm really thrilled. Are you going to be there, Luke? Are you there at the festival?
Yes, I'll be there. I'll be there.
Excellent. Come and find me. Let's do a live interview. Let's see. Tell me what the audience is thinking and more. And Jessica, I can't wait to see you both at the festival as well. Renee, I'm sorry you can't be there, but like I said, you're there in spirit. And please, all of you, keep in touch and let me know what's going on and how your films are changing the face of sci-fi and the face of humanity.
Thank you,
Thank
Jay.
you so much.
Thank you, Jay.
for that.
Pleasure.
You.